Welcome to another episode of Stuff I Make with Grand Inquisitor Chris. Today we're going to do a simple, quick tutorial for a real easy figure to make. We're going to make Rutans for Doctor Who. They would work perfectly for any cosmic horror or a retro sci-fi game as well. What you're going to need is to go to the craft store and buy some of these grapes from the decorations section. This one cost me $3 for the bunch. I went ahead and popped off the grapes. Took a hot glue gun, and my hot glue gun has a metal tip on it that's small enough. I went ahead and put it into the grape and filled it with hot glue. Put a 1/8 inch acrylic rod in, put it into a cup of cold water, and I kept turning it to keep it as straight as possible while it cooled. And now I have a solid piece. I made some bases. I'm doing a method of basing that I call less is more, because I don't want to do the entire base. I just want to put enough stuff on there to give a hint of something beneath the creature. So when you're doing it, make sure that your stick is long enough for you to be able to hold it and handle it while you're painting it and sculpting. First step. After this, you're going to want to go ahead and tape the bottom of the rod with masking tape. Not a whole lot, just put a piece of masking tape around it to about here, fold it around it, and basically you just want to cover up from there to there, because we want the tentacles to come down to about here, and we want to protect the clear rod while we're doing the painting and sealing and stuff. Okay, so once you've got your grape on the stick, it's cooled down, you've taped it off at the bottom, you're going to go ahead and sculpt on your tentacles. Here's one of my finished Rutans. Okay, let's see if I can get this. Okay, so you can see here where I went ahead and sculpted in the join. And if some of your green stuff ends up being inside, just barely inside the grape, that's fine too, because these are intended to be translucent, gelatinous blobs, essentially. You can see the translucence of the figure, and this is why I went with those grapes. One of the neat things about them is so I'm blocking the light on the right. You can still see some translucence from the light on the left. And depending on how you turn it, I can't get it just right. When I was holding it earlier and handling it, you can't really tell right now, with the translucence coming through, the white webbing will definitely show that it's on the outside. Gives a really nice effect. Okay, so after you've sculpted the tentacles on, make sure that to pull them away from the masking tape down here, just enough so that when you need to later, you can cut the masking tape and pull it free. The reason we're putting the masking tape on is because once you get the piece fully sculpted, you're going to go ahead and spray the entire thing down with Tester's Dull Coat Lacquer. The lacquer is going to help the paint adhere just a little bit to the, oh no, I'm taking that out, to the figures, because we're not priming these. The green stuff is a good enough color and works just fine with this. Can't really tell in the picture or in the video here. At least I can't on the tiny little screen on this camera. But the tentacles, I put a dark purple wash of Folk Art Violet Pansy. It's a nice dark purple. Give it a wash. That's why I have this little thing here. You can see the purple on it. Give the tentacles a nice little wash. And the finished project, you have little bits of purple that are pulled up around the bottoms of the tentacles in some of the crevices. Gives it a really nice effect. purple and the green go together really well. But you're only going to put them on the tentacles. Now, after you've done that, I went ahead and took a fine brush and did some webbing on them. You can see here. In fact, there's a good example. You can see that the light is hitting it from both sides, but the translucence is coming from behind the webbing. And the webbing doesn't have to be perfect. Like right there. You can see the translucence from behind the webbing at the bottom. That's the great thing about these grapes. They're not going to be handled all that much. Okay, widen it back out. Okay, so after you have the webbing done, I went ahead and painted up my bases separately, sprayed the bases and the figures separately with Krylon Satin Clear Coat. You can use gloss coat or the Krylon Flat. The Krylon Flat is not truly flat. It is still kind of a little bit shiny. If you use the gloss, that's perfectly great. That'd be even better. I didn't have any gloss on hand. All I had was the satin, so I used satin. But I sprayed down the figures and the bases separately with the Krylon Satin Clear Coat. Once those were dry, and on the figures themselves, I gave it a heavy coat. On the bases, I just gave it a regular coat. Once those are dry, I gave the figures a second lighter coat of the Krylon Satin Clear Coat and sprayed the bases with Tester's Dull Coat Lacquer so that I would get a nice flat appearance on them. Once the figures dried from their two coats, I went ahead and sprayed them down with a coat of Tester's Gloss Coat Lacquer. And the reason that I did that is because the grapes are vinyl, and I've noticed with some little vinyl things that I've gotten out of gumball machines and stuff, some vinyls will get sticky when you paint them, and I don't know what the chemical problem is with it, but the stickiness will come through the primer and through the enamel clear coats, the Krylon clear coat. So when you pick it up, it's all sticky to your fingers, and the paint doesn't really stick all that well. It feels very gummy. It's gross. One of the ways I found to deal with that is the lacquer. I don't know what it is about the chemical composition of it all, but the lacquer doesn't really seem to let the stickiness come through. So after the two coats of Krylon clear coat on the figures, gave them a coat of gloss coat Tester's lacquer, and just let them dry. And then I went ahead and glued them together, took the tape off the bottoms of the stands, glued them together, and here you go. I wanted my Rutans to be kind of large, imposing figures compared to the regular figures. So here's a figure next to them. Real simple figure. Takes about 30 minutes total of handling time to do each one. You can crank out several. I've only got 3. I've got some more that I can go ahead and finish up. But I'm not sure. There aren't that many scenarios for them, so I'm waiting to see exactly how much use I have for them. But I figure 3 is at least a good place to start to have them ready for whatever scenarios. Like I said, perfect for any cosmic horror game, science fiction, retro sci-fi. Pretty much any sci-fi game you see. So that's it. Talk to you later. Bye.